The one and only Brian Eno, legendary music producer and co-founder of the brilliant Rock Scene Music, has put $30,000 towards a community bid to take over a creative centre in the town. Coalville CAN is a hub working alongside local people and organisations to make a difference in Coalville and the surrounding area. And none other than Brian Eno loved the project so much he invited Coalville CAN CEO Ian Wilson down to his studio. Well, I'm really pleased to say the lovely Ian joins us now, nice and early. Thank you for getting out of your bed to come in. It's always great to have someone in the studio. So it's lovely to have you here. This is a brilliant story. You guys must be elated. Tell us a little bit about how this all happened, really.
Absolutely delighted, and especially as this is a new foundation Brian Eno set up. He's both the founder, funder and chair, and they're actually setting it up earlier to be able to support us. So the opportunity to go down and visit the studio, slight confession, I felt the need to Google Brian to understand fully all of his contributions. But we got invited via author John Alexander, who wrote the book Citizens. So we've had John visit 2 or 3 times, and he said, you should come down to this event I'm organising with Brian Eno in his studio.
Wow. Goodness me. We'll get to sort of how that feels in a moment. And by the way, it's totally okay to Google people. Do it all the time. Tell us a bit about Coalville CAN first, though, for people who don't know.
So Coalville CAN is a project to support the regeneration of the town and the area by putting people in charge and giving people a voice over what they think should happen. And the main way we do this is by taking on assets into community ownership and by supporting people to run their own projects, and we also run projects. So the relevant part of that today is we're trying to take over our creative community hub. We've had a fantastic landlord for the last 2 or 3 years. They've given us the opportunity to buy it. So we're giving people the opportunity to invest and become voting members. So if people invest, they get a vote, they elect the board, they become my boss. And they've
got to be nice then. Are you vetting them?
Absolutely not. Open to everyone who believes in making a difference.
And that's what I was going to say. How important is something like this to Coalville and all the people around?
That's a really hard question, because obviously I think it's really important, but then I wouldn't I, because I'm involved. I think it's important for every community to have a place where people can come together, a welcoming space where they can connect with others and follow their passions and their interests. So I think it's important for Coalville. I think it's important for every neighbourhood. I think it's important for every community to tap into that local talent.
Let's take you back to the studio, Ian. Because you smile as soon as I say that word studio. What was that experience like for you? And was it a real pinch me moment? Like, rock scene music, oh my word, what's going on here?
To be fair, if it hadn't been the invitation from John, I wouldn't have believed that the invitation was happening. It was a little bit strange. It was a all-day workshop. So I arrived at the studio in Notting Hill about lunchtime, and there were 40 artists and creatives there. People like ex-diplomats, famous authors, writers, and other musicians. I'm afraid I didn't recognise most of the names, but they were obviously...
You need to Google.
Yes, the power of Google. But the guest was a really inspiring person, Aubrey Tang, who was a hacker in Taiwan and then became the government minister for digital and inclusion, and was on a world tour, including going to the US and the UK. And she visited the UK government whilst here. And she was the main guest for a workshop that started at lunchtime, and we finally got kicked out after 8 p.m. when Brian said it was time for his dinner.
Did you meet him?
Yes. I'm not going to pretend we had long, in-depth conversations, but Brian was there for the whole day. He introduced the day and connected parts. He was very popular.
I bet he was.
People liked being there, and never felt out of place in the sense of I shouldn't be there, but it wasn't my usual space to be.
I know, that's a weird feeling, right? When because I think everyone can relate to that. We're all comfortable in our own surroundings, but sometimes some great things happen, don't they? Or great opportunities in life. And they're wonderful to be part of. But it is always, you almost feel like maybe a little bit of an imposter. What am I doing here? It can feel a bit nice, but uncomfortable.
So I think what was helped with that, and I covered it with Brian, as at the end of the evening we had a quick chat and handshake, which has made some people jealous apparently, was someone said, and I can't remember who, that the difference between Coalville CAN being in the room and other people, well, we were making things happen. We were doing things on the ground. We were making a difference, not just talking about it. So I think being comfortable in knowing what we're doing and believing in what we're doing gave me the right to be in the space and to speak. There may have been better people suited to be there than me, but I was the one in the room. And of course, it's great to have the contribution. So it's helped a lot, but we're not quite there in getting to buy the building.
So what can people do listening now? If anyone wants to find out more about this or get involved and help, where can they go, Ian?
Hopefully. Well, of course, everyone's welcome to visit us on the Clock Tower. It's always a welcome and a cup of tea or coffee waiting. But the best place to go is our website. Just look up Coalville CAN, and all the details are there of what people can do. I'd also say that there are other great projects in every community and neighbourhood. So if people are listening and inspired to do something and make a difference, look into your own community. But if you do have a bit of spare cash and you want to invest it, become a member, have a vote, then check us out, and we would be very appreciative of any support.
Wonderful stuff. It's been fab meeting you and hearing all about this. Keep us posted. Best of luck with it. Coalville CAN CEO Ian Wilson.